Not quite as advertised. The unboxing part is already done, but these are all the components of the Jansen grand piano dolly, which is one of those giant wheel, three-wheel dollies that is designed to sit underneath a grand piano. And I'll spend a few days probably putting together this video of assembling the bits and putting them underneath a grand piano. So admittedly, this is not quite an unboxing video. You notice the boxes are already open, but this is going to be an assembly and assessment video of the Jansen grand piano dolly. Jansen grand piano dolly arrived in 3 boxes, and these 3 boxes are the ones you saw just a second ago. It came with a collection of parts. We have 3 casters that were part of it. We have 3 extension tubes, 2 octagonal steel plates, 3 L bracket. I think those are called L brackets, L bends, excuse me. 3 caster cups, and then a collection of nuts and bolts. I've counted all of them. They are all actually present, I believe. Anyway, so hopefully all these bits and pieces will go together and form a dolly for the grand piano on which they sit. And then, pending the outcome of that, I'll probably do a couple more video clips along the way so we can sort of see the process underway and see how the bits go together. It appears as though all the parts are here, which is good news. I do have the following to say about the Jansen Piano Company. This is Paul L. Jansen and Son. I ordered a grand piano dolly on the 15th of September. It is now the 17th or 18th of October. The day that I ordered this for just under $900, it showed as shipped right away within moments of that order, by way of an app on the phone called Ship. They do not communicate via email. They do not send shipping information or any such thing. After about 2 weeks of complete radio silence, and the only change being that this app showed shipped, I reached out to the Jansen company via the email contact. Never received a response. I've emailed them 3 times now. I called them at their listed phone number, and again called them 3 or 4 times, left messages. Never received contact from the Jansen company, which is very disappointing. I also contacted the app, complaint department, and their response was, "Well, our app works great, but sorry about your service. That's a real bummer for you." Great, thank you. They were completely useless also. Contact with the company via the app, again, was useless also. So no contact with anyone anywhere along the way. Meanwhile, this did finally show up 5 weeks later. I'm happy to have it. I'm very disappointed with the customer service side, and this really is a customer service issue. If I were to have a problem, there's no way to contact the company. And if the company received my contact, which is plausible, they don't respond. Now, their product may be the very best product in the world, and I'm kind of hoping it is. It looks like very high quality, well-made stuff. But complete failure to contact your customers is sort of a no-go in the world of commerce. But that is what it is. All right, so here we have the telescoping sleeves assembled together with the octagonal plate. This is actually the top plate. This is going to be sitting like so, and then after it's assembled together, it'll all flip over. You'll notice the set screw points for the L bars are on the bottom side of the setup. This is assembled now with the longer set of bolts, and so we've got the half-inch hex nut bolts. These are the 2-inch bolts that go through. There are 4 of them, 1 through each of the telescoping sleeves and 1 through the center of the octagonal plate. That plate will go together with hex head nuts and lock washers to be finger tightened only, and this makes good sense. All the way along it says finger tighten only, of course, because once we get this thing underneath the piano, then we'll have to figure out how it aligns and which way it goes and which way it doesn't go. But this is already starting to go together pretty well. So here are the 3 L bends with casters. You will be able to see plainly here that they are all set up with their bolts in place. 2 of the casters have locking mechanisms on them, and 1 does not. I have the nuts and bolts here. This gets lock washers and nuts on all 3 sets of all 3 casters, and those are instructed to be tightened down securely. These are the caster cups. So the existing piano casters will come off the bottom of the legs, and then these guys will sit up underneath the L bars like so, and those guys are instructed to be finger tight. They are the one that gets an oddball fastener. We have, instead of the hex head bolts, these are flathead bolts. They fit into a nice little chamfered recess in the plate. Nice flush surface there, so that when the piano leg sits in there, it'll sit nice and smooth, and then that'll get snugged down once this is all aligned. The deal is that the way the orientation of the L bars and the legs and the bracket, the spider dolly bracket underneath, are all going to sort of adjust relative to the proportions of this particular piano. So these guys could be oriented in various directions, and that this allows for a simple orientation. Now we see the 2 octagonal plates, the extension bars, and the L bars all assembled together. It's a little tough to make out, but the casters are all in place here, and on the end of each one of these legs there is a caster cup, which is up underneath the bottom of that L bar, and that caster cup then will catch the feet of the piano after the extant casters are removed. So I'm about to put the last bits together here, and then it'll go under the piano for some sizing to make sure that everything is aligned relatively correctly before anything moves further on moving around the piano. But this is all coming together nicely, and the Jansen company does make a wonderful product. Customer service not so hot, but the product is very, 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 very high quality. As a side note, I will mention that the locking casters are located in the 2 nearest positions here to where I'm standing. This is assembled backwards relative to the way it'll sit under the piano. It's upside down on the floor. So what's going to end up happening is that the longer legs will go around the lyre, which is the pedal board underneath the bottom of the piano. Those 2 legs are going to be underneath the keyboard end of the piano. So that's going to flip over the other way, which means that the locking wheels will be at the front end, what we would consider the front end, the non-keyboard end of the piano. So if you're a singer or a vocalist or an instrumentalist, you would be on the other end, on this front end of the piano, the rounded tip of the piano. So there will be a locking wheel there, and then in the crook of the bend of the grand piano. The rationale there being, if the piano happens to be stashed somewhere along a wall, the flat side is likely to be against the wall, which means you would have a hard time getting to the locking caster. The 2 locking casters along both ends of that crook, of that bend, make it easy for the instrumentalist to help the pianist unlock and relock the wheels to get it moved, and also if it happens to be stashed in a fixed position, now we can move it around easily because those 2 casters are accessible from the position up against a wall or another object. All right, most of the way there. However, over here on this end, that set screw, the bolt appears to have been boogered up in the welding process. So I'm going to have to extract that bolt, which is sort of stuck in its nut right now, and chase the threads and retap the nut, because of course it's welded in place, it can't be replaced. But anyway, outside of that, everything else is going together well. Having some basic mechanical skill helps a bunch in this process, but it is not terribly difficult in the first place. And looking forward to getting this thing all polished up and snugged up and put together and underneath the piano and being able to easily move around my piano. So this is good news. Current status of the project underway. So the Dolly is mostly assembled. I had to take apart a portion of it, the portion being this bit right here. This is the shorter of the extension tubes, and that nut right there, That's the offending nut. So finger tightening this bolt managed to get it galled up completely in that nut, which I did not examine the threads before putting it together. I always should do that, and I usually do, but this time I didn't, and that was a miserable failure on my part. But in any case, most likely there's a little bit of splatter from the weld that got stuck in that nut or something. So I had to phone a friend, and probably this morning sometime we're going to actually cut that nut loose and replace the entire nut and bolt assembly and weld a new nut and bolt on there and try it a second time with a new piece of hardware. That should effectively solve the problem, and it's the simplest solution. Again, if I had good contact with the company, I could easily call them, return the part, have them remanufacture the proper way that they do things, but I have no contact with the company. So since I have no contact with the company, I have to make do on my own. Fortunately, I have access to folks that are able to do this sort of work and help me complete the assembly. So the saga continues. So as you can plainly see, the apparatus is now sitting underneath the piano, staged in a ready position. All the nuts and bolts are still loose, nothing is done. That's the offending bolt right there. That was the one that had the galled up threads. We had to replace it with another bolt, which of course was easier than getting in contact with the manufacturer that we can't get in contact with. However, this appears to all be in workable condition. Now I just need a couple of strong friends to help me pick up the piano, and what we'll have to do is remove the piano casters off of the piano before placing them into those caster cups there. And then all the bolts and nuts snugged up tightly, everything will be ready to roll, and this thing will be ready to move easily around the room. There's been a slight change of plans. I've replaced the lyre because I found another video that talks about how to do this in a simpler way. I am strong enough to lift the piano myself, corner by corner, and do what I need to do, but not everybody is, and using books and chairs to suspend the piano, we're going to actually get the casters off that way. But let me show you a different technique that doesn't require quite so much strength in your arm. So the less strength in your arm method works this way. Use your legs to pick this thing up and place your books in your chair underneath the piano like so. You want to use old books. New books are not good. But what that does is that suspends my piano leg off the ground so I can easily get the caster loose and place the dolly set up under there and get everything where I want it. I will post links to that other video, but here we go. Caster is now free spinning so we can get that thing loose and get ready to do some other work. All right, get underneath, lift with your back, not with your legs. Here we are, fully installed, fully tightened down in place. All the bits are where they're supposed to be, cups are tightened, nuts and bolts are all snug, including the set screws and the one that's stripped out, so everything works great. It seems to be rolling and moving exactly like it's supposed to. Does it sound all right? I would say so. Everything seems to be okay in terms of sound. Now does it move okay? Oh, that's so much easier. Well, despite a few little bumps along the way, the Jansen piano dolly seems to have functioned exactly the way we wanted it to. Again, I cannot speak well of the customer service at Jansen. However, the product they make is really, really good. Relatively easy to use and to install. A person can theoretically do it by themselves, although I would recommend using a friend to accomplish this task. But it's perfectly reasonable to do. Once you get the casters pulled off and the dolly underneath, everything goes together just fine. The assembly instructions are not super thorough, but they're also adequate to cover all your bases and get all the bits put together as you should. It helps, I'll give you this bit, it helps if you've seen one before. Having seen one in real life, it makes a lot more sense how the little bits go together. And here, for an example, now you have seen one. There's one right in front of you. So here you go. That is an unboxing and assembly and installation of the Jansen piano dolly for grand pianos.